The name of this anime is I'm giving the disgraced noble lady I rescued a crash course in naughtiness.
You naughty.
So you know it's going to be a good one. I know Old Voice Sama did the first 2 parts, but I have been given the go-ahead to do this one.
Hey, wait a minute.
Something ain't right.
You don't have the right to remaster what I did.
Well, channel owner Senpai said I could, so hush your mouth and hold this mic whilst I record.
Yeah, we'll see about that. It's nighttime in the forest, and there is too much human activity for anything good to be going on. A squad of soldiers comb through the area looking for Charlotte. The unit leader alerts his men that they must catch her no matter what. Meanwhile, the lady anxiously runs deep into the forest with the breathing pattern of an Olympic marathon runner. One of the soldiers advises his captain not to follow her, further revealing that deep inside is the demon lord's lair. According to the rumors, he despises humans to a level that anyone who approaches his lair is subjected to brutal aggression. The squad leader dismisses this as a folktale, but just as they are about to proceed, they receive word from a villager that he saw Charlotte, who they describe as the Wicked Woman. The lady hides nearby and goes the other direction. When her pursuers leave, she internally apologizes to Natalia for leading without explaining. However, she is sure that she will get this chance as long as she's alive. Her durability is immediately tested when she falls down a semi-steep cliff. She tries to get up while calling Natalia's name, but falls unconscious instead from this playground-level slip. A mansion in the middle of the forest is not too far away from her. The following morning, the mansion is shown in a better light as it stands in the middle of a clearing. Alan steps out and reads the morning newspaper. Whomever is the paper boy is the real MVP. He reads about the commotion caused by this missing Wicked Woman. Alan pauses when he senses a presence in the forest, so he goes to investigate and finds a variety of monsters huddled around something. The creatures quickly leave as he gets closer. Alan sighs when he realizes that it's an unconscious female. He picks her up and notices that she's light, so he wonders if Charlotte is a runaway or someone who has fled her abductor. He thinks perhaps it could be the knights that are hiding behind the trees. Alan instantly transports behind the captain, who tries to strike him, but he disappears. He tells the confused knight that he used elementary illusionary magic to evade. From the insignia on the soldier's armor, Alan identifies him as an agent from the Nearest Kingdom and part of the personal guards working directly for the royal family. He's now curious to know what kind of business someone of his status would want in this forest. The unit leader calls his men to come out. As they surround Alan, the soldiers order him to hand over Charlotte, and they describe her as a major criminal who disgraced their nation. While he looks at her, the unit leader promises not to harm him if he hands her over without a fight. However, if he tries to play the hero, they will have no mercy. After hearing them out, he refuses to hand her over, and they waste no time attacking him. Alan effortlessly dodges and explains he chooses the frail girl over the soldier's shady vibe. He trips his attacker in the same motion. The captain orders his men to attack simultaneously since the intruder's hands are preoccupied. They all charge in, but he uses Icebind to freeze them in place before they can get to him. The soldiers start to panic that he used a non-verbal spell. Alan prepares another spell as the captain asks if he's the demon lord who lives in the forest. Alan corrects them and reveals that he's the great demon lord and casts the phantom dream spell. This allows him to reprogram their memories so that they will report that Charlotte's trail was gone, so they concluded that she was eaten by a monster. He sends them marching off like zombies back to their kingdom and says that when their minds clear, they will forget encountering him. He takes Charlotte inside and tends to her superficial wounds, but she's still knocked out. Alan finds it hard to believe that she is the major criminal that the whole country is looking for. Charlotte wakes up shortly after and is startled by Alan's presence. He gives her a hot herbal drink to help her recover. As they size each other up, Charlotte explains how she fell into the forest while trying to get to the mansion. Alan reads the newspaper, which states that she's the fiancée to Prince Cecil, the second prince of the Nearest Kingdom. She gets anxious that he's going to hand her in, but the demon lord lets her know that he can tell if someone is lying by looking in their eyes. There's no trace of lies in her eyes. Hearing those words causes her to cry. Alan starts to panic, thinking that she might be hurt somewhere, but she reveals that her emotions are high because he's the first person to believe her. The demon lord is interested to know why she was exiled. We get a flashback to the incident. The noble class gathered to celebrate. but before the party started the prince called Charlotte. Most of them in the crowd didn't know who she was, until it was clarified that she was a noble lady who had been betrothed to Cecil for years. They muttered among themselves about her being the child of a mistress as she walked through the people. The prince stated that her evil deeds had come to light and began to read the accusations. Charlotte was shocked since she had nothing to do with those accusations. The worrying thing was that no one questioned the words of the prince. The lady was taken away and jailed to the delight of Cecil. After hearing that story, Alan is certain that she was framed. He speculates that the prince didn't want to marry her because she's the child of a mistress, or perhaps Cecil had another woman. The royal was tapping into his inner Henry VIII with his move. Back to the present, she apologizes for offloading her problems on him and expresses her appreciation for his help. She prepares to leave as she wouldn't like her wanted status to bring him issues. Alan interrupts and asks if she's good at cleaning. The demon lord points out that the place is a mess. Charlotte can clean as well as the average person at the very least. Alan loves her answer, so he offers her a job as a live-in maid, meaning she will oversee the housework. He will pay her, and she will get 3 meals plus snacks. There are extra rooms in the house, so there is no problem. Charlotte points out that she's a wanted criminal. Alan ponders on her point and remembers that is why he lives deep in the forest secluded, because he doesn't like to deal with other people. Although harboring a fugitive defeats that purpose, but he's still willing to hire her. He sits down and tells a story of how he was betrayed by his party member and left to rot in a monster-infested tomb. Hearing this resonates with Charlotte. Alan is stunned by how pure she is. I suspect he is capping with that story just to get her to accept the job. It doesn't work because she rejects his offer, fearing that her presence will cause him trouble. Alan places a death curse on himself as a last resort. He informs her that his heart will stop in the next 3 minutes if she doesn't agree to work for him. She wonders why he's acting like a villain, but from his actions she can see that he's trying to save her. In less than 1 minute she agrees to work for him. She completes her first full clean of the house, and the place is sparkling. He commends her on a good job and finds it hard to believe that she's a noble lady from a duke's family. Charlotte confesses that she helps at home a lot. Alan already noticed that her hands were rough when he rescued her. He knows that Charlotte's noble lady title was only for show. Her family used her more like a servant. She downplays her work as she points out that Alan used his magic to tidy the place and helped clean the floor. The noble lady wonders if she's needed. The demon lord explains that he has 0 housekeeping skills, so finds it difficult to stay on top of the cleaning. With the work done, he allows her to do whatever she wants till dinner. Charlotte is perplexed that he is not worried that she might steal. The demon lord confesses that he used most of his money to buy the things needed to make her comfortable. She feels a little guilty, but he assures her that it's fine as he sees it as an investment. He bluntly tells her that he has work to do, so he doesn't want to be disturbed. This makes her feel bad as she leaves. Alan doesn't like being social, so he intends to keep this energy till she gets fed up and leaves. He has some other plans, but for now, he concentrates on one of his very few hobbies. The demon lord likes to take recently published papers on magical research, outlining their faults and riddle them with his corrections. Like a teacher with a grudge, he marks his amendments with red ink and is feared as the red pen devil at academic conferences. This gets him more excited to meet their expectations. Alan gets so engrossed in his work that dinner time comes before he knows it. He turns and is shocked to see Charlotte counting the grains on the wooden floor. Even if boredom suffocates a person, he can't imagine anyone doing that. They head to the living room where he learns that she doesn't have any hobbies. When she was at home, all she did was her bridal training, mending clothes, and cleaning, so the lady didn't have free time. He's a little shaken at how she can say such sad things with a smile. Things get more tragic when Charlotte reveals that her most fond memory is her little sister Natalia giving her some bruised fruit. She doesn't get to eat such treats often, so it makes her happy. This is too much for Alan, because even he has fond memories of being mischievous in the magical academy, like bombarding the professors with questions till they tear up. He feels like Charlotte should have also been having the best time of her life and yet has no hobbies or fun memories to mention of. The demon lord decides to give Charlotte a crash course on all things naughty in the world. He sells a few of his magical equipment and buys some wrapped items. Alan clarifies that his definition of naughty is not an immoral type of pleasure. He assures her that it will not be anything illegal and presents the first naughty thing, which is to eat only sweets for dinner. The table is full of the most luxurious sweets and drinks in the kingdom. Charlotte points out that eating this will lead to an unbalanced diet. Her rational response is what makes her worth corrupting. He can see that at her home she was not fed properly. He gives her some cake, but she is reluctant at first. But he orders her to eat it. Before she eats it, Alan makes her blush when he tells her that he bought all the sweets to make her happy. Charlotte takes the first bite and begins to cry. The demon lord thinks that it's because it's not nice, but she informs him that no one has ever done such nice things like this for her. She asks if someone like her is allowed to be happy. Alan shows a high-level Riz play and wipes her tears with the back of his hand gently as he promises that starting from that moment, he will teach her every single pleasure in the world. They will travel to many destinations to achieve this. He aims to turn her into someone who can say they are the happiest person in the world. He doesn't know why he wants to be so nice to her, but he will teach her all the naughty things. She doesn't need to pay him back as he sees this as a hobby. Alan is not a fan of sweets, but he eats some cake to make Charlotte happy. As they enjoy the sweet, some sinister red eyes watch them from the darkness of the forest, happy to have found the demon lord. Alan stays up that night coming up with a list of things that Charlotte has never experienced before. He gives a villain laugh as he works. He ends up falling asleep in the study and is only woken up by the rays of the morning sun. He's not too bothered because he came up with so many great plans. He holds the book up like it's a masterpiece. However, his tune changes when he reviews the contents and realizes that in his excitement the previous night, he compiled plans only he'd be happy with. He tosses the once revered list into the bin and decides to create a better one. The demon lord bumps into Charlotte, who's already holding a broom. They exchange greetings, but he doesn't want to tell her what he was up to the previous night. He checks to make sure that she has covered her ordeal. Alan is surprised to hear that being up this early and ready to work is part of her daily routine. This means that she was made to clean the mansion every single day regardless of its state. He begins to get angry when thinking about how innocent Charlotte is and how she was treated as less than a servant and then exiled from the country under false allegations. The demon lord allows her to sweep outside. Now that he's alone, he can't believe she doesn't express her resentment towards the prince or her family for what they have done to her. His thoughts are cut short when he overhears Mia-cha interacting with Charlotte. Alan rushes down fearing that she might recognize her. He steps in and briefly informs the cat lady that Charlotte is his new maid. Mia-cha introduces herself as a courier with the Satiro's shipping company. She is the MVP person who brings his mail. She addresses Alan as the demon lord, which surprises the maid, but he tells her it's just a nickname. Mia-cha takes a closer look at Charlotte and recognizes her as the wanted fugitive, but assures her that her mouth is sealed as it's not part of her job. Her company also doesn't operate in the nearest kingdom. Alan heads inside to give her the potions he makes for the magic store in town. The courier reveals that they are in high demand due to their quality. Mia-cha suggests he move into town to make more money, but Alan is reluctant and snaps when she tries to pry further. Mia-cha remarks that it's this attitude that has gained him the name of Demon Lord in town. He is not surprised that everyone is talking about the evil-looking sorcerer living on the outskirts of the city. Because of his unsettling nickname, kids come to the forest as a test of courage. He assures Charlotte that it is only a nickname and he's just a simple sorcerer. He dislikes people but can't abandon those in need. Mia-cha labels him an antisocial nice guy. She advises him to find his purpose for living. Alan scolds her again before asking her about their mail order services. She provides them with a catalog. He hands it over to Charlotte and asks her to make a list of anything else she may need. The lady is reluctant, but he makes it mandatory and threatens to buy her every item in the catalog if she doesn't pick some. Mia-cha states that if it was her, she would have punched him to end his arrogant attitude. She begins to punch him lightly, saying that it's the best way to forget bad things and release stress. This gives the demon lord an idea. A couple of days later the things come and Alan reveals the punching bag he ordered. He intends to use it for the day's naughty activity. Mia-cha overhears, and her mind goes to the gutter. But Alan pulls her back out and informs her that it is not anything dangerous. He places a picture of the prince on the bag and puts a boxing glove on her. The demon lord gives her freedom to hit the bag to release all the stress bottled up inside of her. He tries to explain that sometimes one needs to express their anger. If suppressed, they just build up and never go. She doesn't want to do it and believes that she's sure the prince has a good reason for his actions. Alan is skeptical and points out that Cecil wouldn't have tossed her away like a rag if he had a good reason. Charlotte thinks like she owes her family for raising her and feels bad for the prince for having a fiancé like her. She can't be angry at them because Charlotte blames herself. The lady tells Alan that she can't resent them. After trying to explain his point, he takes matters into his own hands and casts a spell on the gloves that forces Charlotte to hit him instead, and it lands better than Mayweather. The demon lord goes flying. He does this to assure her that he will never abandon her no matter what she does to him. The lady is allowed to feel anything and say anything. She scolds him for forcing her to do such a thing. The demon lord is just happy that she's starting to express herself. He soothes her anger by healing himself. Charlotte admits that she has been living her life afraid of a lot of things, but she will try to learn how to express herself more. Mia-cha watches unhappy that everything turned out well, and hints at her prediction that they might end up being a couple. The two look at each other oblivious to what she means. All the while, a strange lady watches them from the woods and is happy to have found Charlotte. She says to herself that Charlotte will not be getting away from her anymore. Okay, after I handed you an ass whooping, you can now do the rest new voice Kun.
Alan offers Charlotte either coffee or tea. In typical fashion, she's too timid to pick for herself, so she says she'll just have what the demon lord is having. He decides to do a little trolling and says he's having a harrowing concoction of a nutritious potion, which convinces her to just settle for picking tea for herself. He thinks that her making a decision for herself is important, since she's had a clear lack of agency in her own life up until this point. Alan's stepsister, Iruka, butts into the conversation while she lets herself into his home through his window. They grew up together when the Crawford family took him in after he lost his parents at a young age. Iruka gets the both of them embarrassed when she asks if Charlotte is his girlfriend, but Alan ends up divulging that she's more or less on the run as a criminal. He then explains the rest of the story to her. Iruka feels that the demon lord is going about things the wrong way, by not even teaching the fugitive about things that girls would enjoy. The two siblings get into a debate and challenge each other with taking her out for a day to teach her stuff and see who does better. They're in the city, and Alan uses magic to change her hair color and Iruka styles it in a different way. They decide the first stop is to get her sauce up, so they all head to a clothing store. Alan's deep in thought about his childhood playing chess with Iruka. As Charlotte changes, his sister gets his attention, and it's time for a fit check. He thinks it looks good on her, but perhaps is a bit too revealing. Bro literally momentarily stopped his heart to prevent himself from tweaking out over her outfit. The fugitive has issues strapping the next article of clothing on and asks for help from Iruka. She steps out and turns around. The open back top exposes the scars she has on her back, definitely from being whipped as she was a noble. Alan uses simple healing magic to stitch her up. After some silly clothing hijinks, they go out into the streets to buy things that Charlotte may like. Everything that Alan presents is quickly shot down by Iruka though. She clowns his taste in things. Charlotte feels quite bad that they spent so much money on her, but Alan reassures her that it's fine. They set off once again looking for some more things to buy, and Iruka gets distracted and starts nerding out over a magic wheelchair. The demon lord and the fugitive happen upon a jewelry store, and he picks out a hairpin that matches her eye color. He gives the store clerk a piece of gold, saying they can keep the change. Nameless and Jobless number 1 and 2 show up and bump into Charlotte looking to start an issue with our main characters. Alan tries to solve things with words instead of violence before they overstep boundaries and start talking out of pocket about Charlotte, which is when things get physical. Alan immediately breaks the first guy's fingers and slumps the second guy with one punch as the crowd of pedestrians cheer. Charlotte thanks him, and he's quite surprised that she isn't scared of him or anything. Their sweet moment is cut short when some iron giant-looking dude pulls up and wants to run the hands with Alan. Out in the streets, the Golem lookalike faces off against Alan. Things look like they're going to get intense, but Alan seems to recognize him as Megath. He greets him and realizes that he'll probably have to jog his memory of who he is. After mentioning he's Alan Crawford from the Athena Magical Academy, Megath immediately apologizes to him with no hesitation. His underlings wonder why he's tweaking out, and he whips them back in line. Iruka explains that the Demon Lord graduated from the Athena Magical Academy at 12 and became a teacher afterwards. Luckily for him, Megath didn't cause any trouble, but his underlings were bothering Charlotte. The next day, Miacha and Iruka show up at Alan's house, only to see him looking down in the dumps on the steps. His sister correctly guesses that something happened between him and Charlotte. He explains how he was urging her to accept a wage for being his maid, but she's pretty reluctant before eventually accepting the money. He wonders if there's anything in particular that she wants to buy, and she says she wants to go into town alone to buy the thing, so currently, Alan is worried sick. The three of them tail her to town and follow her around to make sure she stays safe. The trio might need to do something since Charlotte is about to walk to the Mirrored District, which is pretty nasty as it is being controlled by a gang led by a man named Grow. Conveniently, Alan says he has something to take care of and asks the two of them to look over the former noble before he heads off. As they tail her, she ends up coming face to face with the Serpent Fang group. Weirdly enough, they give her a warm welcome. It comes to light that Alan quickly disciplined them before the noble could run into them. She offers the party some potions since they look roughed up, and the positive interaction influences them to want to turn over a new leaf. They're curious about what her relationship is with the Demon Lord, and she gives an interesting answer that leaves them stunned. They say their goodbyes and she goes on ahead. Unfortunately, there are some other bad apples in that part of town that Alan goes out and packs up. It looks like all their work is done since there shouldn't be any threats for her to run into. Miacha tails her the rest of the way until she gets what she wants to buy, while Alan and his sister wait at a local cafe. Charlotte comes and meets the three of them alongside the hair accessories store owner, who thanks Alan for cleaning the streets up from the dangerous groups that were there. He humbly thinks he doesn't deserve such praise, seeing as he did it for personal reasons. The store owner tells Charlotte that she picked a good boyfriend, which makes the atmosphere kind of awkward. She heads off and the Demon Lord asks the noble how her shopping was. She pulls out a bag and a box, and she gives a cat plush to Iruka and a new hat to Miacha. Alan wonders if she got anything for him, but she says she didn't know what to get him since she doesn't know what he likes. She instead offers to repair his cloak as he tells her what he enjoys. Later, Charlotte and Alan find themselves traveling through the Unoha region via horse carriage. She comments on how beautiful the weather is, and the Demon Lord agrees, adding that it's a nice day to travel. Unbeknownst to them, two shady figures are tailing the carriage. Things flash back to the previous night when Charlotte informed Alan that she finished a book that educated her about the country she currently resides in. He revealed that getting lost in books in a busy society is a luxuriously naughty thing to do. She got excited, showing him the various locations in the book. Alan asked her if there were any places she would like to visit. Her timid reaction gave the professor of naughtiness an idea, which was indicated by his mischievous grin. He told her that wherever she picked would be their destination the following day. She didn't want to bother Alan and was reluctant to pick. He tried to entice her by listing all the fun things they could do, but she still resisted and prepared to use his last resort when Miacha came in. She handed Alan a letter and revealed that it was a trip for two to the Unoha region. Things return to the present, where Charlotte enjoys the view of the vast field. She didn't have that luxury the last time she passed by, as she was a fugitive. Alan feels bad hearing this and changes the topic, commenting how nice the townspeople are for booking the trip as an appreciation for what he has done. Charlotte thought that he would have gone with Iruka. The Demon Lord informs that his little sister went on a trip. The two hooded riders are uncovered to be Iruka and Miacha. They bought the trip tickets using the appreciation money from the town's neighborhood association. The girls believe that the couple need a push to realize their true feelings. They are excited to see how this trip will progress their relationship. Miacha even took paid leave to join, so you know it's serious. All the while, Alan tries to find out the place Charlotte wishes to visit, but that is cut short by their arrival at the Unoha resort. They are given a warm welcome by the mermaid concierge. Alan hands over their tickets, and she informs them that their room is ready. She also tells them that the hot spring is not busy currently, so it's the perfect time to use it. As Alan breaks Charlotte's fall, their attendant turns to express her joy to have them choose their resort for their honeymoon. The two are confused by her statement. They embarrassingly reveal that they are not a couple, and wonder what made her think that. The concierge assumed they were, since they have a special package for lovers and married couples. Alan bites his hand in frustration when he figures out that Miacha tricked them and now recalls her unnatural happiness when she was giving them the tickets. Alan decides to keep the package when the attendant discreetly tells him that it's the most luxurious plan, and she's sure that Charlotte will enjoy it. The two are given a welcome couple's drink that Alan sips alone. They are then shown to the hot spring facilities and told that the baths are unisex, so a swimsuit is required. The mermaid whisks the noble lady away to get her a swimsuit when it's revealed that she didn't bring one. Alan nervously waits for her to come out and notices that the hot spring is crowded for non-peak hours. The Demon Lord's attention is drawn when Charlotte joins him, and his heart stops due to how cute she looks. He takes her by the hand so they can do naughty things that can only be done at a hot spring resort.
What do you mean by that?
They play table tennis, get a couple's massage, and enjoy the water park and the fun fair. They end the day overlooking the sunset in the natural hot spring. Iruka and Miacha are in a further pool watching. Alan decides to order an ice cream for her to enjoy while in the hot spring, as that is a naughty thing one can only do in such an environment. The Demon Lord keeps the ice cream cold forever by casting the immortal ice spell on it. Everyone sees Charlotte enjoying it and orders some for themselves. They plead with Alan to cast the immortal ice spell on their food too. Later at dinner, the mermaid thanks Alan for his service because it tripled their ice cream sales. She promises to make their stay as extra special as possible. The Demon Lord asks her for recommendations for sights to see. She lists a few, including a hill where Fenrir's can be observed. Charlotte has never heard of such a creature before. Alan explains that they are noble and peaceful magical creatures, and sighting them is said to bring good luck. The attendant informs them that it's child-rearing season, so the Fenrir's rarely come down from the mountains. She recommends the Unoha Magical Zoo as an alternative, and Alan picks up on Charlotte's reaction and begins to plan. After dinner, they head to their room, but there is only a single bed. The couple calls the concierge, who encourages them to keep the room since it has a special dream bed. They take the advice and stay. Iruka and Miacha are in the room next door trying to listen in on the action. Alan helps Charlotte go to sleep using a spell so that she can dream about her deceased mother. Alan forces himself to sleep with the same spell when he starts to admire the sleeping noble. The spell ends up affecting Iruka and Miacha, putting them to sleep where they eavesdrop. The following morning, Charlotte woke up happy because she got to talk to her mother one more time. All the while, Gosetsu begins to make his move, believing that Alan is not capable of protecting Charlotte. During that interval, the couple find themselves at the magical zoo. Charlotte feels like she's dragging him along to experience her selfish desires. The Demon Lord threatens to end his life if she doesn't choose what activity for them to do. She selects the petting zoo as the main attraction for her. The noble lady gives him an animal headband to wear for the duration of the trip. Alan tries to hide how cute the suggestion is. In the interim, Gosetsu has allied with a pack of Fenrir's and is ready to face the Demon Lord in battle. All the while, the couple arrive at the petting zoo, and Charlotte is overwhelmed with joy. To make her experience even better, Alan uses his limited understanding of the magical creature language to plead with the animals to play with the lady. They agree when he promises to buy them their favorite feed. He feels villainous for executing a successful bribe. I don't know who's worse at being bad, this guy or Mr. Villain. Turns out that it was not necessary because Charlotte has a natural affinity to the animals as they all gather and play around her. The couple watch the animals after their petting session, and it looks like the creatures are well behaved. However, Alan can understand them, and they threaten to eliminate the Demon Lord for being close to her. This confirms his suspicions, so he informs her that there are many types of magic and special skills in the world. Some require innate skills. For example, he has an insane talent for magic. He lets her know that she has the talent for being a magical creature tamer, seeing how the creatures are receptive to her. This will allow her to communicate and use the creatures. Her level for her skill is so great that the noble lady will be able to tame high-rank beasts like Fenrir's. She's surprised to hear this. Their conversation is interrupted by one of the zookeepers who asks for their help. She brings them to the zoo's lab where the director recognizes Alan. He explains how they found an injured Fenrir, which was attacked by poachers after it got separated from its parents. These creatures are endangered, but their fur and bones are excellent material for magical equipment, so they are still targeted by bad actors. The director states that no one can communicate with it since it's their first time capturing one. Alan tries, but it rejects him. Word arrives that the mother Fenrir is on its way to rescue its pup. They speculate that it must be over 100 years old if it's able to find its young, despite them using trace severance magic. The Demon Lord is sure that it can easily destroy the city, and they can't return the cub to its mother in its current state. He orders the director to evacuate all the people from the area. He intends to stop the mother while Charlotte tries to talk to the cub so that it will take the treatment. Alan finds Iruka and Miacha since he knew they were around this whole time and gives them a task to complete. The Demon Lord heads to the outskirts and spots the pack of Fenrir's dashing towards them, so he casts a barrier over the resort while he deals with the situation. The Demon Lord freezes the young Fenrir's in place, but the mother emerges and attacks him. He decides to get serious after a brief exchange, but Gosetsu comes out to inform him that if he harms the mother, the family reunion will not be possible. The Demon Lord is more confused by the Hell Capybara and wonders what it's doing on the battlefield. The creature introduces himself and lets Alan know that his goal is to rescue Charlotte from the Demon Lord. Gosetsu reveals how he escaped from the zoo and wandered around till he came across an unconscious Charlotte. He knew he had to save her, but Alan came and took her. He then learned of the unfounded rumor about her in the newspaper and couldn't believe such a beautiful woman could be evil. As he observed her everywhere she went, he was sure that she wasn't evil and concluded that he must eliminate Alan to save her. The Demon Lord can see that he's jealous of their relationship. Gosetsu is also eager to destroy her old kingdom for betraying her. As he melts the Fenrir's, he reveals that he set the pack on Alan by informing them that he's the one who exposed the cub to that danger that got it injured. Charlotte interrupts their fight riding the once hostile Fenriers, she managed to persuade it to take the treatment. The other monsters decided to accompany her, and the demon lord is surprised that she was able to learn the animal language so quickly, since it took him half a year to master the basics. The lady tries to explain to Gosetsu that she's fine with Alan. However, the Hell Capybara refuses to understand and attacks the demon lord, and is defeated. He realizes that there is a romance brewing between the two, so steps down. With that cleared up, the couple head back to the resort where the mermaid concierge expresses her gratitude for saving them. Their carriage pulls up, and as they prepare to leave, Iruka and Miacha deliver the poachers they were tasked with apprehending. Alan raises their defenses with just enough magic for the Fenriers to teach them a lesson without them meeting their demise. After the beatdown, the cub that Charlotte persuaded to take the treatment wishes to follow them back. The mother gives permission when Alan asks if her kid can leave the pack, and the concierge informs them that the Fenrir can come back and see that family in under an hour. This quells Charlotte's worries, and Alan is a lot more comfortable offering it to stay after hearing this. The demon lord is happy that their family is growing. Hearing that he considers her as family makes Charlotte blush. He's clueless that his words gave her the tingles. They leave the resort, and Gosetsu follows to be Charlotte's bodyguard, as a token of apology for causing trouble. The lady doesn't even know who the capybara is, but the creature tries to force itself to be part of this family. Alan gets annoyed because no one has permitted it to join them. He orders it to go back to the zoo. Some days pass since their return to the mansion, and Charlotte has been spending a lot of time with the Fenrir that she has named Lou. The cub has not warmed up to Alan yet. Gosetsu comments on how Lou has taken Charlotte from Alan to the point that they spend less time testing the boundaries of naughtiness. The demon looks out the window because there is some truth to what the capybara is saying. However, he's happy that she has a goal now. It is revealed that on the night of their return, Charlotte expressed her desire to become a magical creature tamer. He is so glad to see how positive she has become from the girl who was counting the groves in the wood on the floor for fun. Alan agreed, and Charlotte impressed him with her studiousness and ability to pick things up quickly. He has discovered a new side to her every day since she started this undertaking. Currently, the lady practices what she has learned so far by instructing Lou. Alan is shocked to see how effortlessly Lou blasts through the obstacle course. This means that she has mastered the skill and doesn't think anyone can communicate with Fenris like her. Gosetsu irritates Alan by teasing him for calling Charlotte his beloved student. The demon lord tries to pat Lou while praising him, but the creature almost bites his hand off. Charlotte scolds it and apologizes to Alan for her familiar's action. It only proves to the demon lord that she's the only one who can build trust with Lou. Gosetsu feels like she has reached the level of having a beast conversation. It's a type of magic that allows the tamer's familiars to speak the human language. The capybara reveals that it is self-taught when it comes to its communication. Charlotte casts the spell on Lou, which gives it the ability to talk. The first thing it asks is why Alan is touching its mother. Hearing it talk gets Charlotte excited, but it is evident that Lou hates Alan. The demon lord creates a tub for them to soak in. He tries to ban the capybara from using it, so Gosetsu transforms into its human form, and everyone is surprised that the creature is a lady. Alan gets smitten seeing Charlotte splashing around. The two later sit to talk, and the topic of the previous owner comes up. The Demon King reveals that it was an eccentric elf who used to live at the house, but they disappeared 30 years ago. Given the location of the crib, it's not surprising that she was an unsociable workaholic. When she suddenly went missing, people had all sorts of grand speculations on what happened to her. Some said he fell off a cliff due to despair of failure. Others believed that her body was taken over by mushrooms. Because of these rumors, he got the house at a discount. Charlotte has a look of horror on her face and points to Gosetsu, who lies in the pool covered in mushrooms. They rush over to find that the capybara is fine. Turns out the mushrooms are coming from the stream. As they try to figure it out, Dorothea suddenly pops out from the ground, accusing them of stealing her mushrooms. Everyone is surprised to see her. After tension reduces, she takes them down to her basement and apologizes for scaring them. Dorothea introduces herself and is shocked to hear that Alan lives in the mansion upstairs, because it's hers. She is the elf that disappeared 30 years ago. Dorothea is baffled to hear that it has been that long. However, she is happy to see such rare magical creatures living at her place. Gosetsu notes that Dorothea is a dark elf, which is a rare breed with an elite status. Alan is worried about the ownership rights. Since the previous resident is still alive, he already knows it could be a legal nightmare. Alan asks her to sell the mansion to him. She gives a mischievous smile before expressing her willingness to do so. The elf prefers to live in the basement and doesn't want money, but instead wants them to help her get out of a predicament. Alan is a little reluctant, but decides to hear her out when Charlotte pleads. She explains that she used to be an industry-popular author of multiple genres and a self-proclaimed genius. One day she tried to write a romance novel and got writer's block, and the deadline approached with no progress made. So she went into hiding and dodged her editor because he was extremely scary. She strong-arms Alan to help by threatening to take her mansion back. After watching how Charlotte and Alan interact, she is sure that they can help her out of this block by acting in some romantic scenes to inspire her. The day of the shoot comes, and Dorothea is dressed like a veteran director as she gives them different scenes to act. Lou and Gosetsu also join in on some of the scenarios. The couple have some genuine moments as they act. Charlotte is given praise for her skills, while Alan is given little. Their shoot is interrupted when Dorothea's editor breaks the wall and enters after feeling his writer's presence. He pleads to be excused for his sudden visit and checks under Lou's sleeping rug to find a trembling Dorothea. She tries to escape but is captured. The editor explains that allowing her to disappear so close to the draft deadline is the worst mistake of his life. Dorothea boasts about how the basement completely hid her presence so well that even someone of his level could never sense her. He wishes she could channel that level of enthusiasm into her writing because he wouldn't have wasted 30 years of his life. Dorothea cries while apologizing. He gives Alan a bag of money as compensation for the wall that he destroyed. The elf pleads with the demon lord to help her as the dragon flies away holding her. Iruka joins the duo soon after and frenetically informs them that there is a problem. Charlotte's little sister Natalia is in trouble. The disgraced noble lady gets a flashback about how badly she was treated by everyone, despite being the daughter of the master of the house. As she cleaned, a young Natalia wanted to spend time with her through reading a book. The girl also pled with Charlotte to address her without honorifics. The younger sibling gave Charlotte some ointment to treat her hands from overworking. The flashback ends with her waking up on a ship heading to Natalia. Meanwhile, on deck, Iruka explains that Natalia is the 10 years younger half-sister of Charlotte and the legitimate heir of the Evans family. She was also the only supporter of Charlotte in the Naru's kingdom. The topic of the conversation joins them and reveals her dream about her sister, even giving more information about Natalia's character as the journey continues. Soon after, the Athena Magical Academy comes into view, and Charlotte is shocked to learn that the whole island is the school. When they touch ashore, Iruka promises to tell them the details of the situation when they get home, since it's complicated. Charlotte starts to get a little bothered hearing that she will be staying at the family house. This is going to be a difficult homecoming for Alan. His sister discloses that 3 years earlier, he quit school without telling anyone and left after a big fight with their father. The Demon Lord tries to cut the topic and downplay the incident, but Iruka reveals that people on the island still talk about the fight. The elite mages fought each other for 3 days and nights. The scar of their battle is still on the other side of the island. She offers to show Charlotte later, but Alan doesn't think there is much to see. As they walk through the town, we are reminded that Alan was adopted by the Crawfords when he lost his parents. Charlotte is a little jealous of the fiery relationship he has with his family. Alan encourages her to use this as an opportunity to build such a relationship with Natalia. They are alerted to a fight between two students, but Alan doesn't interfere when he sees his stepfather Harvey enter the scene. He freezes the troublemakers before Iruka gets her father's attention. He comes over and acknowledges Alan and thanks Charlotte for coming. He then introduces himself before they head to the family house. Harvey is happy to see his son doing so well, and even bringing his girlfriend to the house. Iruka discreetly stops Alan from correcting his father. She gives him a gesture that allows him to figure out that this is part of the plan, and he passes the message to Charlotte. The lady also picks up on it and plays her role. Harvey makes them both blush when he starts talking about marriage. Alan protests when his stepfather mentions about Alan succeeding him as the headmaster of the academy. Gosetsu thinks it would be an excellent opportunity, but the Demon Lord is not interested. They are soon joined by Aniskullyt. The lady gets flattered that Charlotte mistook her for Alan's little sister and launches a fork at the Demon Lord when he's about to address her as auntie instead of mother. We learn that Harvey only likes the idea of retirement so that he can spend more time with his wife. Charlotte gets well acquainted with Aniskullyt as they interact. However, Alan wants to get to business and would like to know the problem with Charlotte's little sister. The head explains that Natalia is currently studying abroad at the academy. Her family sent her while they sort out some issues. The girl used a fake identity to enroll, so it was only recently they found out who she really was. Given Charlotte's infamy, Alan understands why she would hide her identity. Natalia is currently entangled in the factional rivalries inside the academy and has risen to the top at a speed rarely seen in history. Iruka uses a magic mirror to show them how the sweet girl is now ruthless but still kind to her subordinates. Charlotte is happy to see that she has not become a bad person despite her rise in power. Harvey wants them to persuade Natalia to hold back a little and attend class more seriously. Alan and Charlotte are more than willing to help. They are shown to their joint room to rest before their operation. The mother does this to make sure that they are not lying about their relationship. Alan can see this, so he prepares to get some rest. The two get into bed and Alan attempts to use the sleep spell just as he did at the resort, but it doesn't work. He checks and realizes that Iruka has modified the bed with magic disabling properties. She has learned from the last time and listens from the other room with Gosetsu. The couple struggle to sleep as they steal glances at each other. Charlotte breaks the ice by commenting on how Alan's adopted parents are the ideal couple. This triggers both to think about their relationship under similar conditions. Charlotte would like to know what the Demon Lord was going to say to her before the editor disrupted them. Alan wants to tell her how he feels, and she is really eager to hear that he likes her, but they both internally talk themselves out of revealing their true feelings and go to bed. Iruka gets angry that her expensive plan didn't work, but a fork throw from her mother keeps her quiet. The following morning, Alan uses his magic to give her a disguise which changes her hair color and gives her glasses. The two head to the school and locate Natalia. Alan notices that the girl has already gotten into battle position and assesses the situation in case a fight breaks out. Alan introduces himself, stating that he's a temporary substitute teacher. The girl picks up on his family name and comments on him being related to the headmaster. Her subordinates cower in fear hearing his name, because Alan is feared as the naughtiest student in the history of the academy. The Demon Lord takes it all as a compliment. He comes back to reality and introduces Charlotte as his assistant called Charlo. The noble lady talks to her sister for the first time. Alan reveals that he's been ordered by the headmaster to help support troubled students. Natalia doesn't acknowledge them and walks off. The following day in class, Alan and Charlotte try to connect with the girl again. Natalia showcases her brilliance when she corrects the teacher's equation. Alan is impressed, and Charlotte is like, wow. The Demon Lord pleads with Natalia to teach Charlotte basic magic, which she does after the lesson. Natalia and the other students are surprised to see that the assistant has tamed such rare animals when Lou and Gosetsu come to give her lunch. This catches Natalia's attention, so she has lunch with them. The girl is confused by why they are so interested in her and confirms that they were not sent by her family. Alan tries to talk about her older sister, but she gets upset and ends the conversation. As she leaves, her rival Chris tries to antagonize her, but she dismisses him and his lackeys. One of them bumps into Charlotte, causing her to spill her food. Natalia tries to confront them, but Alan interjects and rather disciplines them himself by sending them to another dimension and beating them. Charlotte stops his final attack with the magic she learned from her younger sister, which surprises Natalia. Charlotte later scolds the two for fighting, so they apologize. As she plays with her familiars, Alan reveals to Natalia that he knows she's not a troublemaker, but she has always been protecting the weak, which has gotten her enemies. The Demon Lord suggests she conquer the academy to prevent the headache. Iruka later tries to catch up with her older brother and finds that Alan has already helped Natalia eliminate some of her opponents in the field that they excel at to crush their confidence to defy her. The last person on the list is Chris. They have a fighting race to see who can retrieve a flag at the back of a dungeon and return safely. With the help of the secret trick taught to her by Alan, she beats Chris convincingly, and the student leaves frustrated. Natalia is told that the other dungeon is out of bounds because the boss is in her laying season and agitated, which makes it too dangerous. They are joined by her subordinates, who have also been receiving special lessons from Gosetsu, which has made them stronger. The Hell Capybara snaps at them to run some laps around the school. Natalia finally acknowledges Alan after he helped her. She gets hungry, so they head for dinner. Charlotte convinces her little sister to eat her veggies because she has warmed up to the assistant. Alan and Iruka watch as the two sisters interact. Natalia even offers to give Charlotte more magic lessons, which she happily accepts. The troublemaker sleeps and is taken to her room by Alan. They notice that the girl studies a lot as there are notes everywhere. As they place her down, they spot a padlocked bag. Her subordinate explains how important it is to Natalia. Alan uses his magic and finds that the girl has put security measures on the bag in case someone tries to open it by force. Chris overhears everything when he comes to challenge her again, but he runs off with a new plan. Alan, Charlotte, and her familiars watch over Natalia, and the noble lady wonders if her sister would want to see her again, since she's linked to some painful memories. Alan pleads with her not to rush things. The following morning, Charlotte heads to her lesson with Natalia, where she's taught an explosion spell. After the training, the pair take a refreshment break when the girl offers to show Charlotte something after commending her progress. They go to Natalia's room and the bag is missing. Chris left a challenge letter to meet at the out-of-bounds dungeon. She warns Charlotte not to follow or inform Alan. After some time, the girl's subordinate reports to the Demon Lord that their boss is missing and her bag is gone. Alan snaps into action when one of Chris's lackeys informs them that their leader could be in trouble. He explains that Chris was the top student till Natalia came and took his place, and since then, the guy has been obsessed with defeating her. All the while, the sore loser is confronted by Natalia in the dungeon. He throws the bag down and states that the first one to retrieve it wins. Just as always, the girl defeats him. As they prepare to leave, they are attacked by a chimera. Chris gets scared and runs away. The two regroup and try to frighten the creature since its weakness is loud noises. Unfortunately, Chris is knocked out by some rubble, and Natalia is blown away. Charlotte saves them by using the explosion spell she just learned to scare the monster away. The older sister tends to her siblings' wounds. After they take stock of the situation, Natalia prepares to reveal why she's so attached to the bag. All the while, Alan rushes into the dungeon fearing that the boss salamander has awoken. Natalia reveals that she has an older sister, whom she defends strongly against the false accusations placed on her. The reason why she wants to get stronger is to save her sister from the terrible schemes of their kingdom's prince, as he was the one who framed her. The girl gets upset that she couldn't save her beloved older sister from all the torment. The bag is the only thing of her older sister she has left, and she uses it to confirm that she's still alive using an article detection spell. But she can't locate her because someone is blocking it, so Natalia thinks she has been captured, so she wants to find her sister to make sure she's fine. Chris regains consciousness and overhears the whole story. He gets emotional and apologizes for his actions. Things take a negative turn when the salamander shows up. Charlotte orders the students to escape, but she's blown away before they leave. Natalia recognizes her as her older sister when Charlotte's wig and glasses fall off. She lies there unconscious as the monster prepares another attack. Alan makes it on time and blocks the attack. He gets mad that his love got hurt and releases his power, which makes the whole island to shake. He subdues the monster with a quick attack. The students are confused to see that the monster is cuddling up to Alan. Lieselada arrives on site to reveal that her son is the one who raised the salamander. Everyone exits the dungeon safely. Chris confesses to his actions and is ready for the consequences. All the while, Natalia heads over to find out if that is her sister. Alan wakes Charlotte up so that she can reunite with her sibling. She apologizes for deceiving Natalia, and they have a warm reunion as they hug and cry. When things settle, the girl gets angry hearing that her sister and Alan like each other and attacks him for blocking the magic that could have helped her locate her Charlotte. After settling things at the academy, the two head back to the mansion. They have some tea together and gather the courage to discuss their feelings when Miacha interrupts. She delivers a package before quickly leaving. Alan opens it and activates the magic circle. Natalia jumps out and kicks Alan in the face. She comes to visit her older sister with the help of Aruka and the FedEx worker. Their interaction is joined by Dorothea, who wants more material from Alan and Charlotte because the book she wrote was a hit and people want a second part. Since everyone is gathered, they decide to have a party, they have fun, and they all fall asleep. Charlotte later wakes up and joins Alan after having a dream that he saved her from her past torment. Alan decides to do a naughty thing and sets up a stargazing activity for them to do while taking hot chocolate. The two finally hold hands and express how happy they are to have met each other. Just as they are about to express their love, Alan senses everyone is watching. Natalia attacks Alan for rizzing up her sister. The Charlotte fan club joins, and the Demon Lord is ready to take them all on. All the while, the prince receives word that Charlotte has been found and gives the order for her to be captured. That brings the season to an end.
Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time for more legendary tales.